see a pretty face crumbling away as you become your mom and daddy. Scream once, scream twice, now scream again. Cover that face with your red right hand.
Welcome to Filmbuff Live. I, as always, am your host, William Patrick Coleman. Joined soon by my co-host, one of two, which unfortunately we lost the other one today. Amiee could not be with us, unfortunately. So Amiee, we send our love and support. She had to go be with family at the last minute, and as we here in Filmbuff always respect and love family first. So we send all the love and support to Amiee. We hope you are okay. We will be hearing from her soon at another show. But the great Wizzo is here with us tonight, as always.
Cheers, my brother. Cheers.
Fantastic personality. Today's show is brought to you by Del Taco and Whiskey.
Scotch and nuts. Scotch and nuts, buddy.
Yeah, so tonight is a topic we're going to go over that I'm a big fan of and very, very knowledgeable about, which is the Great Scream Saga, the Great Scream series. Which is a fascinating series with even more fascinating behind-the-scenes tales. And basically we'll go over movie by movie real swiftly and quickly and talk about the players involved and the drama behind it and you know, the reception from it and whatnot. But Wizzo is not, you're not much of a horror movie fan, are you?
Not really my jam. I've always enjoyed Halloween. And I tell you, because you put me to task on these Scream films, and right before the last, I'm not coming through on the headset, I'm going to take it off. I watched them all before the last one, and man, you know, I kind of said to myself, why the hell did I, because I'd seen the first one originally when it came out, and I said to myself, why the hell didn't I keep current with these? Like, very enjoyable films. I don't have the retention and the capacity you do and the knowledge that you do when it comes to these films. But I tell you, I enjoyed the hell out of watching them.
You know, there was a point in time where I was actually not a fan of horror movies as well. I did like the Nightmare on Elm Street ones. I thought that they were kind of beautiful looking movies. Horror movies tend to be horror movies, especially Nightmare on Elm Street, can tend to be very colorful, very unique, and very you know, standalone. And you'll hear things sometimes about how they don't get enough love at the Academy Awards and things like that. Well, I'm definitely one of those people in support of horror movies deserve a lot more love and appreciation. But definitely when Scream came out, in 1996, when Scream came out, there was, you know, it was very, very well known that horror was gone. And it was the sequels in horror movies particularly that kind of destroyed the horror genre. And at this point, I think we're talking about, you know, Freddy 7. I don't know where Jason was or Michael Myers was, but we had Candyman 2 and 3 by then and all that noise. And they had lost its touch with horror fans in particular.
Alex, what's up, buddy?
And then all of a sudden, Kevin Williamson, first-time screenwriter, had wrote this movie called Scary Movie at the time. It was called Scary Movie when he wrote it.
Oh.
Yeah, this is true story. John Carpenter.
I love John Carpenter. That's why I love Halloween.
Well, yeah. And at this point, John Carpenter had done The Thing and Big Trouble in Little China. He was well-known more than just horror movies. But
I didn't realize he did Big Trouble in Little China. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, Scream comes out, and the thing in particular about Scream that I happen to love was that it took a step back.
Gets my film buff hard, he says. These won't show later when this post. Alex's Scary Movie gets my film buff hard.
So in particular, Scream, when he wrote Scary Movie, what it did was it took a step back and it was self-aware of itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah. that whole meta sort
it
of
was one of the first movies to do that. It was one of the first movies to become meta. And in all
that wasn't a
actuality,
spoof, really.
in all actuality, a movie before that happened to be New Nightmare, which was, you know, Wes Craven's attempt for Freddy Krueger to be taken out of the movies. And you know, Heather Langenkamp plays herself, and they all play themselves. Robert Englund plays himself, and that was a very good, honest attempt. Yeah, do you remember that movie?
Right.
1994.
Now that you're saying it, yes.
Yeah, and that New Nightmare will actually come into play a little bit later in Wes Craven's connection to Scream. But so Kevin Williamson shops this script around, and it became one of the biggest like scripts to get shopped around in Miramax, and it went into the hands of like Quentin Tarantino, it went into the hands of like Robert Rodriguez, like all these people got a hold of it, and even Wes Craven got a hold of it and turned it down. They loved the script, couldn't do anything with it. Wes Craven said he couldn't do anything with it, and at this point in Wes Craven's career, he didn't want to do horror movies anymore, and so he couldn't get recognized as anything other than a horror film director, and he couldn't get work as anything.
New Nightmare is the third best nightmare.
I actually might agree with you, right? Like I might agree with you, Marcel. I think it's with Dream Warriors being probably number one or two. Dream Warriors, Nightmare on Elm Street 3 is fantastic, but so it comes back around to Wes Craven, who kind of had an epiphany and realized that his biggest followers and fans loved him for film, or for horror movies and film. Loved him for horror movies. He was kind of a god in horror culture. And
that's
so
what I associate him with. That's why, like when you said Big Trouble in Little China, that I didn't realize that, you know?
Yeah. But Wes Craven gets a hold of, calls Kevin Williamson back. Yeah. Wes Craven calls Kevin Williamson back to reread Scream. And again, Scream is not your normal kind of horror movie. It is a horror movie where the characters are very well aware of the tropes in horror and think that they can outsmart themselves in that concept and still find themselves in the same situation. It's actually a very hard plot to describe, but in that sense, it had been labeled as a spoof. It's not really a spoof. Some people would argue that it's not a spoof, but if you read about it, it's satire, I guess, if anything.
J. Burrow Glass, hello, I see a wave.
Hello. Here's the thing about Scream that separated it from everything else. It was made it more realistic. Yes, it put people in a position to be able to relate and be scared for these people in a real life scenario. But it was the opening sequence that was fucking huge. It was huge. And in all actuality, Drew Barrymore, who was a part of the opening sequence, was asked to play Sidney Prescott. She was asked to play, everybody talks in how they could survive a horror movie, exactly. And Drew Barrymore read this role, and it was her idea to say, hey, I think it would benefit us more for me to be the opening kill. Reason being, everybody expects Drew Barrymore to survive. Everybody expects Drew Barrymore to kind of live on and go past that first sequence. But if she dies in the opening sequence, then anything can fucking happen in this movie.
Right, sure.
And not only in the marketing, if you look at the marketing everywhere, she's on the poster. She's everywhere in the marketing. But she doesn't survive the first scene, and when that happens, people's world are fucked up. They don't know what to think. They don't know what to think because it's not only the fact that she dies in the opening sequence; it's the tension building of it. Something really interesting to know: would I survive in Scream, Alex? I unfortunately probably would be the killer. So no, probably not. No, not at all. But something I notice about Scream every time I watch it, and I love about it, if you ever watch it again, Wizzo, notice that there's a tension building with her on the phone walking around the house, right? Yeah. She's walking around the house, talking on the phone, coming back and playing with the killer. However, what you're not aware of is that you are learning the outline of the house. You are paying attention to where she's going. Because when shit hits the fan, she's going to run through that fucking house with the killer chasing her, and you know exactly where she is, you know exactly where she's going to go, you know exactly where the killer is. And it's super clever on many levels of that aspect, is that you are learning something without realizing you're learning it. And it helps the tension. It helps the tension building. And so, yeah, she fucking gets it. She fucking gets in the first 10 minutes, right? And it's probably up there with one of the top 10 best opening sequences in movie history ever, to this day. And so that opening sequence kind of supports this entire series after that.
That's bold.
It is. Like, I can't think of... maybe Saving Private Ryan would be up there.
Ever would argue with you, but
I mean, Saving Private Ryan would be up there for sure. Like,
yeah.
Like, I mean, does anybody think that they're out there thinks that... What is the equivalent to Scream opening as far as best openings for a movie ever? Most iconic openings for a movie ever?
Well, like, James Bond is known for having iconic opening scenes. Any James Bond film, right? How about Indiana Jones?
Yes. Okay. There you go. Raiders, probably up there as well. Raiders absolutely is equivalent to something like Scream. Sure. Who killed Casey Becker, which is played by Drew Barrymore? Inglourious Bastards. There you go. Inglourious Bastards. Great fucking opening. Maybe the best Tarantino opening, easily. I put Inglourious Bastards in the top 10 opening sequences ever. But from that moment on, what we have is the rest of the outline of Scary Movie, which turns into Scream. Now, a lot of history behind Scream is that it is Harvey Weinstein produced. The infamous Harvey Weinstein. He produced Scream. It was his idea to change the title from Scary Movie to Scream.
Which they then used Scary Movie for all those spoof.
So later on, that's where Scary Movie came from, actually. And so that's why Scary Movie is specifically called Scary Movie about Scream. And so from there on, we get the players, right? We have Neve Campbell, hot off of fucking Party of Five. We have an unknown at the time, Rose McGowan. We have Skeet Ulrich, hot off of The Craft, with Neve Campbell. They both were in The Craft the same year. We have Jamie Kennedy, one of the first things he did that year.
I was going to say Skeet might have even been in Party of Five, too. Thank God he never did anything weird that would tarnish the Scream brand.
Yeah, thank God Weinstein didn't do anything fucking bizarre or in the headlines, But Jamie Kennedy at the time had not done anything but Romeo and Juliet, which came out a month before Scream. And who else do we have? Matthew Lillard had just done Hackers, I believe. And that's kind of pretty much, I think, who you have.
And you got
David Arquette was asked to play Billy Loomis. He was asked to play the Skeet Ulrich part. People don't know that David Arquette is actually a year younger than Skeet Ulrich and a year older than Jamie Kennedy. Yeah, he's their age. Really? In fact, Courtney Cox, who developed a love affair on set and everything like that, is older than him by like 10 years or something, I think.
Yeah, word.
Yeah. And he asked to play Dewey because he had a crush on Courtney Cox. And so he was going. So they actually changed the Dewey character for David Arquette. Now, I have a theory about the David Arquette thing. Like, I think Wes Craven has a thing for the Arquettes. I think he loves the Arquettes because Nightmare on Elm Street 3 had Patricia Arquette. And it would be about the third or fourth time that Cougar Mojo, absolutely, Alex, yeah. It'd be the third or fourth time that he worked with an Arquette. So he loved David Arquette so much that he made Kevin Williamson change the character of Dewey from this big brute, this big dim-witted brute, to this, like, loving, like, soft,
like endearing,
simple man, yeah. And so, and so there you have it. And Courtney Cox had to fight for the role against Brooke Shields, because
what?
Yeah, because at the time she was in Friends, and Monica Geller is not Gail Weathers. They're two way different fucking characters. They didn't think that she could play this bitchy character.
What was Brooke Shields doing at the time? Nothing, huh?
I mean, 1995. I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, she could have. What was Courtney Cox doing at the time? You know what I mean? Like
Friends, right?
I mean, Friends, but like, I mean, Brooke Shields might have been doing something small that Scream would have made bigger for her.
Right.
And so, why can't we be friends? Sing voice.
I just think of Brooke Shields as almost like an '80s. You know what I mean? Like
Blue Lagoon comes to mind, and that's like mid '80s.
Yeah,
but I definitely didn't. I would have seen that.
It shocked me to hear that she was in casting for that. I would have thought, who would have gone up against Courtney Cox?
I don't. There's a list of names, but moving forward with the story. So
Jennifer Aniston.
Scream plays on. as this mystery, right? It's kind of like an Agatha Christie mystery, and that's why I love Scream. Is the mystery aspect of it, because
now it's funny that you say that, because that's something. Like I said, I don't have much to say, but something I do have to say in regards to these films, and one of the reasons I like them, whereas I don't normally like your standard slasher horror fix stuff like that. This is almost like the fucking Scooby Gang in the Mystery Machine, and it's this whole fucking let's figure out who the killer is, unmask him at the end. That plays, it plays.
Which is interesting to note that
there's more character development involved. It's not just what's the body count and what's the most clever way I can kill someone.
Now you say that. You say that, but like that, when you bring that point up, it's not a coincidence that both Matthew Lillard and Sarah Michelle Gellar end up in the Scooby-Doo movie. You know what I mean? Scream starts this whole big horror movie revival thing, and all of a sudden the mid-90s, has this horror movie like whirlwind of titles that come out featuring maybe 30 actors back and forth that go back and forth, you know, and get reused. But midway through the movie, you know, it does balance this out between horror and mystery, because there's actually not a lot of killing after Drew Barrymore. There's a big period where there's no killing.
Right.
In fact, Henry Winkler is in the movie. He's not advertised on the poster or anything for a reason, but he's in the movie as the principal who gets killed halfway through the movie. And in the original script, they don't even kill him. So in the original script, they had to ask Kevin Williamson to put a death there, because there was no death until the party sequence. So you would have gone a whole fucking hour with no death until the party sequence. So they had to kill Henry Winkler.
Wow.
Yeah, which, by the way, you know, everybody talks about that Wes Craven cameo as Fred the janitor.
Right.
Great cameo. But what people don't realize is that Wes Craven has actually had a cameo in every single Scream movie, but you would never notice it except for Fred the janitor. Yeah, Fred the janitor is the only one that's blatantly in your face.
Sure.
But then we get to the party sequence. Yeah, we get to the party sequence, and the party sequence is, I mean, this is all standard, you know, play-by-play horror movie stuff, and that's the point. You have a character like Randy, played brilliantly by Jamie Kennedy, who was originally going to be Breckin Myers or Jason Lee.
They killed Casey in the beginning. The final blow. What?
What's that?
Blazers 2020 says, who killed Casey in the beginning? The final blow.
Oh, okay. I firmly believe that is Stu, because what he's referring to is Casey reaches up and pulls the mask down and recognizes who's killing her.
Oh.
And they later on talk about, well, you know, you dated Casey. Right? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Matthew, they go, you dated Casey, and he goes, yeah, but I was at my girlfriend's house, and he goes, yeah, well, was that before or after? Like time-wise, it could have, you know, placed in anywhere. He could have gone, killed her, gone to his girlfriend's, yada yada. But the point is that
there's the two of them. That's right.
Yeah, but the point is that whoever it was she was looking at, she recognized. So I think that Stu was the one doing the killing, and Billy was the one doing the call, because during the sequence, one of the questions is, final question, which door am I at? That's a trick question, because they were at both doors, front and back. That's true. That's my theory. That's my theory. That's my take on it. Now,
Farside got something. Farside says Scream did for horror what Michael Jordan did for the NBA. Nobody was watching either until they came along.
That's great. That's a fucking great analogy, I think. But and so the last hour plays so intensely, and what's great about these movies is the audience participation. You know, they introduce to you who everybody is, and if they're not important, they're going to die in the first hour. But if they're important, they're going to jump these fucking characters, you know, for the last hour. So you're going back and forth trying to guess who it might be, and they're throwing you clues here and there. You know, Scream did something that only Scream can get away with. No other movie can get away with. After, not even Scream, not even the Scream series, which was that. The twist isn't who the killer is. The twist is that there's two killers. That's the twist. If you had walked in and said, hey, if somebody told you there's two killers in this movie, you would have been able to tell right away who the fuck it was. But you're looking for one fucking person. You're looking for one person.
Right.
And so the fact that there's two killers means that they can show you, they can tell you till they're blue in the face that it's Billy. It's Billy. It's Billy. It's Billy. But then he dies, right? He gets stabbed. And you think, holy shit, what's going on? Like, your whole world's all fucked up. but they're two killers in cahoots with each other.
Right.
And so that's the twist. That's the twist, that not that these guys are the killers, but that there's actually two killers.
And
so that whole last hour plays like a funhouse of emotions. And when you get introduced to that, you get this powerful sequence with these two great actors acting like psychopaths, kind of improvising in the kitchen. It's a great sequence. And that moment kind of stays with Scream for the rest of the series. This moment where the killer is revealed, it always stays with Scream, right? Of course, the motive plays a part. The motive is a huge deal. And their motive was, if it makes any fucking sense, that your mother was a whore, and so I'm going to kill you. Like, nobody stops and considers that the whole series is based
your mother
off
was
of
a whore
slut-shaming.
and wound up ruining my childhood because she slept with my dad.
But why kill Sidney? Why kill Sidney? Like, as far as I know, he has the advantage because not only did but he gets the advantage because not only does he get away with the murder, but he actually sleeps with the daughter for a full year, or dating the daughter for a full year. But then to reveal him, like to bring her into it, didn't make any sense. It also doesn't. It goes to show at the time of what was called slut shaming, I guess, and how powerful it was that all this happened because of
Mercury. What's up? Mercury just jumped in.
Oh, big guy. And all because of basically slut shaming.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, it also could go to the fact that because they killed the mother, right? So it could go to the fact that not only they're psycho, but then it's sort of like it's that bloodlust that whet their thirst for that desire to kill. And so at first it was done out of just sheer sort of anger or passion or hatred. Oh, you whore, you slept with my dad, you ruined my childhood because then my parents got divorced and it's all your fault and nobody takes responsibility, so I blame you and I kill you. Oh, hey, this is fun. I'm going to kill again.
Okay, and you're right. And what they do is they bring movies into it and they say, oh, this is fun. It's like what Jason Voorhees did. It's like what Michael Myers did. Let's do this. Let's plan it for a year. And there you go. And so that's where movies plays a part. And you're right. And that's how movies gets kind of brought into it. They don't get away with it, of course. Billy gets killed and Stu gets a TV dropped on his head. And our survivors are Sidney Prescott, Gale Weathers, Dewey, and Randy Meeks. 4 people. And that's Scream, essentially. Huge hit. Huge fucking hit. And the thing about Scream was when it came out, it wasn't a hit right away. It got number 6 when it first came out. But it climbed up over the course of a month. It climbed up and up and up. And by the time we got from December to February, it was number 1. And no movie had kind of done that before. And all of a sudden, these guys were stars over time. Not overnight, over time. February 1997, after the release in December 96, it gets greenlit for a sequel. It gets greenlit for a sequel to power through production and try to make it by Christmas 97. Historically, that's a recipe for disaster. Rushing through a sequel and getting everybody to come back and capturing the same, Scream is lightning in a bottle. And it'd be impossible to think that you can get that twice. However, I'm going to go on a fucking small rant because everybody who knows me knows that I love Scream 2 with a passion. Because essentially Scream 2 is the shadow of Scream 1. Almost verbatim, but it manages to deliver its own surprises successfully. So assume somebody's telling you, okay, the sequence you saw in part 1, it's going to happen the same way. You're going to see it happen the same way, and delivery is going to be the same. And then the last second, nope. I just took you on this ride, and then boom, I changed it on you. Scream 2 has Will glows when he talks about Scream. That's the lighting. I swear to God, it's the lighting.
No, but I was going to say you have a hard on for Timothy Olyphant.
Yeah, well, I'll get to that. That's a whole different show. All right? So that's a whole fucking different show. However, Scream 2, the cast is phenomenal. Scream 2, to me, is one of the top 5 90s movies, along with Empire Records or Can't Hardly Wait. So Scream 2 has a cast of Jerry O'Connell, fucking Rebecca Gayheart, Portia de Rossi, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Joshua Jackson's in there. like Liev Schreiber at the height of his career is in there. Like a lot of 90s like powerhouses are in there. Gail looks as good as she's ever looked in the series with the fucking short dark hair and the red streaks. Gail comes back, Dewey comes back. Randy's fucking great in this. Jamie Kenney's fantastic in it. And it takes place in the storyline 2 years after the events of part 1 in college. And so it's as simple as it sounds. It's somebody going around killing people again in the shadow of everything that happened in part 1. And so they're taking the knowledge that we know of part 1 and trying to survive the sequences the same way. Now, things I particularly love about Scream 2 is the opening. Fucking great opening. Great opening. The movie theater is a great opening.
They better not kill Gail in the new one. They probably will.
Yeah, they will. The opening sequence in Scream 2 is fantastic because it's the exact opposite of the opening in Scream 1. So Scream 1 is quiet, reserved. It's out in the open. It's out far from everybody. She can't get away even if she wanted to in an open field because she's so far from society and civilization. But part 2 is the exact opposite. It's dead center in the middle of a chaos of flood of people in the middle of a sneak preview, right?
Okay.
And you would think that somebody could not blatantly, openly get murdered in a sea of eyewitnesses. But that's what's so interesting about the sequence is that they get away with it with all these eyewitnesses watching.
Oh, it's the movie theater. It's the whole.
Yeah, it's the movie theater. The opening. Yeah.
They address black culture in horror films, all that kind of stuff.
And it plays on itself on the whole meta thing because then it introduces Stab, this concept of Stab, which is a shadow of the events of part 1. Stab will forever haunt the Scream series, but it starts right here in this movie theater with the costumes in Scream 2, very 90s, but Heather Graham playing Drew Barrymore, which is interesting because
everyone in the crowd had the mask on. Yeah.
It's interesting because at this time in her career, she just came out with Boogie Nights. So she had just become big by the time she plays Drew Barrymore in the Scream 2 in Stab in Scream 2 opening. And it is Jada Pinkett and Omar Epps, which is funny because I heard that Omar Epps was offended to be cast in the opening kill, not realizing at that point that Drew Barrymore had made it an honor to be in the opening kill. But Scream 2 goes on, and we're introduced to all these interesting...
Witnessing someone die. Yeah, no, that was very well done. That was cool.
Yeah, it's so great. And
they think it's part of the thing. They think it's just all kind of part of the show, and then she gets up in front of the screen, and it's like everybody realizes, fuck, someone just got killed, and then there's a dead guy in the bathroom. We get one of the most interesting characters in Scream 2. Comes in Scream 2, which is Cotton Weary. To me, is probably the most interesting character in all the Scream series. He is used to such a ridiculous height of suspicion. Like, there's no way he could be the killer, but they use this to their advantage. And Liev Schreiber's great in the role. He's fucking great in the role. And so by the time the killers are revealed, which happens to be the great, if I can show you here, Laurie Metcalf and Timothy Oliphant. That is them. They with Laurie Metcalf actually playing Billy Loomis's mother, and Timothy Oliphant is just a kind of psychotic film student. That's a great shirt.
The Billy's mother thing is really smart. It's really smart, and the reason why it worked is because Sidney never sees Laurie Metcalf's character through the whole. She's a part of Gail's storyline. And Gail would be too selfish to notice who she is, of course. But Sidney recognizes her right off the bat. So that's how they get away with that. That's how they fucking get away with that. Because honestly, at this point, Laurie Metcalf was a successful theater actress. You should be able to tell, holy shit, Laurie Metcalf's in this movie and they're not using her to her advantage. She's the fucking killer. Clearly. But no, they use Gail's storyline to hide that. And they get away with it for that reason. Yes. Timothy Oliphant comes in and fucking shines. It's fucking great. It's fucking gold, all right? He's the only killer that comes out, tells his plan, and I'm thinking to myself, this motherfucker would have gotten away with it in 1997. He comes out and he says, I'm not going to try to fucking hide the fact that I'm a fucking killer. I'm a fucking killer, and I'm going to get away with it in court because the world's fucked up like that. And he would have fucking got away with it. It actually had nothing to do with Sydney. It had to do with fame almost. But he would have got away with it for sure. In the shadow of OJ and all this stuff, he would have gotten away with all that shit. It also contains the most emotional death in the whole series, which is Randy. Randy's death would forever cause such a problem with them that they can't go through a whole Scream movie after this without acknowledging Randy somehow. If you notice, every Scream movie afterwards has to figure out a way to bring up Randy in the rules without Randy. They have that task of having to do so.
How did they do it in 4?
4,
just through his nephews. No, that's in 5. That it's his.
That's in 5. 4 is
because 3 is the videotape.
Well, okay. I'll. Here's a good example. So I'll get to 4. I'll tell you why 4 doesn't. So in Scream 2. I have this theory. They have, if they ever introduce characters that are similar to each other, it's because one of them's the killer and one of them's going to die. So, for example, rest in peace, Randy. Randy and Mickey are the same character. Timothy Olyphant and Jamie Kennedy, they're the same character, which means that one of them is going to die and one of them is going to be a killer. Same thing with Scream 4.
There are 5 so far. There's going to be a 6th one coming out.
Yeah, March 6th is coming out. They're already done filming it. And so once that's revealed, boom, Billy Loomis's mother, and it's actually Cotton Weary that saves the day, which is really fucking smart.
That was pretty
Scream
cool.
2 also has some of the best suspense buildups, and Scream 2 really separates it. Some people would argue that Scream 2 takes it out of the horror genre because it's really suspenseful. They've got this sequence with Gail running through the fucking college that's fucking intense. They've got this sequence with the police car that's fucking gold, right? She's locked in the police car, and the only way she can get out is over the killer. Great tension building. No matter how many times you see it, it always gets you. Like, it's great tension building. They don't do it like that from that moment on. Like, it's good. That's good. So Scream 2 ends, right? And then we get to 3. We get to Scream 3, which I'll try very hard not to display my feelings about Scream 3, but it's going to be hard because I really don't like Scream 3 to a ridiculous level. Like, I've seen Scream 3 so many times that I wish it would change one of these times that I see it, and it never does. But in theory, what happens is that, again, directed by Wes Craven, all 3 of them are directed by Wes Craven at this point, but at this moment, Kevin Williamson did not write 3. He wrote 1 and 2, did not write 3.
This is what you told me, yeah.
Yeah, had a dispute with Harvey Weinstein, if you can believe it.
And who would do that?
Yeah, and got on and is not on Scream 3. And so what happens is it's years later, and they are on set in Hollywood making Stab. I don't know what I think it's Stab 3. I think it's Stab 3 or something like that. Stab 2, one of the two. They're making the Stab sequel.
No, I think you're right. I think they're making 3. I think they feature 2 in it, but they're making 3. I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think 2 has been released and they're making 3. One of the funniest things, I think that might have been the movie. Was that the movie where they had like the mock-up of her bedroom and stuff like that?
Yes, and that's a cool sequence. That's a good idea. In theory,
they changed the post. You and I pointed this out to you. In the original Scream movie, she had an Indigo Girls poster on her wall. In part 3, it's like fucking Creed.
It's Creed like because Creed's on the soundtrack. That's why.
Yeah, but they take out the Indigo Girls for Creed. Why did Sydney should have said something?
By the way, before I continue, can we talk about the soundtracks real quick? So Red Right Hand has become a constant theme of Scream. It had existed way before Scream.
Awesome.
It had existed way before Scream, but Scream grabbed it and it became the theme of Scream. But part 2 has the soundtrack. I talk about Scream 2 being the ultimate 90s movie. Listen to the soundtrack of Scream 2, right? Master P, Cottonmouth King, Sugar Ray, Tonic, Foo Fighters, Dave Matthews Band, Everclear.
It's like American Pie. Right off American
Pie. D'Angelo. Boom, boom, boom. 90s, 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 90s. Scream 3, Creed. Fucking System of a Down, Finger 11. Sustains on there. Power Man 5000, Static X, like 2 Creed songs, by the way. Anyways, that goes to show you where their thinking was with Scream 3. And so murders are happening on set of the new Stab movie in Hollywood. Actors are being killed. By the way, the opening kill is Cotton Weary, which is the first time our opening kill is somebody familiar. And not only somebody familiar, but somebody pretty important.
Major player. Major player.
A weak opening because it introduces the concept of the voice changer being able to collect a fucking voice, harness it, and then when the killer uses it, regurgitates it as that. That doesn't make any sense.
I thought that was stupid.
That's such a headache of knowledge to think about and try to grasp. That doesn't make any fucking sense to me. Anyways, they play the whole movie with this idea, right? And so with this idea, they're able to even trick people further into thinking it's somebody else back and forth.
Right.
If you ever notice when anybody watches Scream 3, it's mainly the Dewey and Gale show. Like they're good 70% of the movie. Yeah. They're a good 70% of the movie with Sydney being a small character until she comes in about 45 minutes into the movie. That's because
you talked about cool casts. I think the cast, I know
Scream 3 has a good cast. Scream 3 has a good cast.
I kind of dig. There's a lot of things I don't like about 3, and there were some things that you pointed out to me that I was like, oh yeah, that's dumb. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, oh wait, that actually adds up, and I'll address that with you later. But I think the cast, I love the fucking cast. I love that Jenny McCarthy's in it.
Jenny McCarthy.
Fucking Parker
McCarthy,
Posey. One of my favorite characters
Patrick
in the
Dempsey.
whole fucking, in all of Scream, Parker Posey. Parker Posey's
yes, okay,
character.
So I was going to get to her.
Fucking Putty from Seinfeld. I have love for Seinfeld, of course. Fucking Putty from Seinfeld is the,
Patrick Warburton. Yeah, he's great. Yeah. I was going to get to Parker Posey. Parker Posey alone is worth the price of admission.
Yes.
This is an actress that got cast, knows exactly what movie she's in. Doesn't fucking play it serious because there's no need to play it serious. And all the best lines are from her. There's a line where she gets hit and she looks on the floor. She's on the floor and she looks up at him and she goes, "My lawyer liked that." And I fucking lost it. Yeah. That's a great line. She has some of the best fucking lines in the movie.
Oh, she's phenomenal.
She's so good. And so the Randy connection is we're introduced to Randy's sister, who is Heather Matarazzo's cameo from Welcome to the Dollhouse, Welcome to the Dollhouse.
I think so, yeah.
She brings the video, which has Randy, by the way, in costume from Scream 2, leaving a video about the rules of 3, which
okay.
I guess it makes sense that he would leave a video behind and whatnot, but
it doesn't.
But it's their way of acknowledging that they fucked up. They're like, okay, we clearly can't have somebody else say the rules. So Randy left the video.
It's also their Band-Aid on a lot of shit. Because here's the other thing I wanted to point out to you. Something you pointed out to me, Scream 3 is the one Scream film where there's only
one killer.
Okay, now.
Yeah, and let's get to that. This is the reason why I don't like Scream 3.
You pointed that out to me, and I was like, oh, word, Will's right. That's fucked up. That really good. That fucking bucks the system. That doesn't, dude.
There's a lot of rule breakers in Scream 3.
And he says that. And that's why I say his videotape is their Band-Aid. It says right in that videotape of his, he says anybody can die, so that's Cotton Weary's out. I feel like they probably should have knocked off a main character too, taken advantage of that and done that. But how can you do that?
Yeah,
But one of the other things it says in the third series of a threesome or of a trilogy, threesome's something totally different. In the third series of a trilogy, all the rules are out the window. You find out that nothing was
all bets are off.
You find out that everything's different, and so paying that, not putting that knowledge out there, paying that respect. Only one killer. That could very well be the reason for only one killer, because, like you said, in every Scream film, they've been able to fuck you around every corner by going, it's this guy, it's this guy, it's this guy. Oh, that guy just got stabbed by the killer.
Yeah.
And so now they throw you the curveball, and it's like, no, just one guy. There isn't anybody else. You're waiting for the other shoe to drop. There's no shoe. It's just one guy.
Here's another thing about Randy. Here's another thing about Randy and the rules. If you ever go over his rules again, he's been right, and he basically tells you who the killer is in every movie. Same applies for yeah. Those are different kind of rules. But Randy's been right in every installment. If he talks about the rules, he basically tells you kind of who it is. So in part 1, he says clearly it's Billy. He says it's Billy. He thinks it's Billy. He knows it's Billy, and he's telling it to Stu. In part 2, he talks about Mrs. Voorhees is a terrific serial killer. So he's telling you.
Wow.
He's telling you that a female mother figure could be, not only that, but he says Mickey, the freaky Tarantino film student, which is funny because Timothy Olyphant appears in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood way later in his career. Number 3, he talks about, in this video, he talks about a third movie in a trilogy is all about something you thought you knew, but didn't.
Yeah, everything's different, rules out the window.
It's all about information that you were missing. But this is where they fuck up. This is the problem I have with Scream 3. And we can talk about it all now to the end here.
Keep going on the rant. I'm getting a refill. You keep going. I'm listening.
Yeah, I'm going to be talking to nobody. Anyways, so
you keep going.
The problem with Scream 3 is the killer is the director of Stab, played by Scott Foley from Felicity. His name is Roman Bridger. And Roman Bridger is the single-handed killer of all the events in Scream 3 who comes in and says, hey, I'm the illegitimate son of Maureen Prescott, your mother, the slut, or whatever, right? He comes in and he's like, I'm a product of her past life that she's ashamed of, that she had in Hollywood, here in Hollywood.
Her and the producer of the films.
Yeah, but technically. They don't come out and say it's him, but they imply it, that it's Lance Henriksen. And so here's the problem I have with Scream 3, is he comes in here, right, and he says,
I didn't realize
I'm your stepbrother. He says, I'm your stepbrother. I've been there from the beginning. He said, I chased her down. I found her. She told me she didn't want to have anything to do with me. I got so pissed that I told your boyfriend that she was having an affair with his father. And I started all the events that happened.
Filmbuff would be a marketing stunt.
So here we are at the end of Scream 3, and he's saying everything you loved about Scream is wrong. He's saying that it's all about sibling rivalry. He's saying it's all about revenge. It's all about jealousy.
Hey, Mom.
That it's not... Hey.
My mom just popped on. Hey, Mom.
That's perfect. Hey, Mom.
So you're right. So, yeah, he says it's, it's all about...
He basically says everything that's connected to movies and the love of movies is not right. And that fucks with your storyline. It fucks with everything, because you're telling me that there was 3 killers involved in part 1. This guy comes in, doesn't kill Maureen, but talks these 2 guys into killing Maureen, leaves town, and these 2 guys decide a year later they're going to keep on the killing spree. Like, and
that's the bloodlust. That's the thing.
It's just ridiculous. It's too much shit, and it's like you didn't have to do. I guarantee you that was not a part of Kevin Williamson's plan, because it doesn't make any fucking sense.
No, it probably wasn't. And when you explain that to me, that's why it upsets me.
It upsets me talking about it, because it's lazy. It's lazy is what it is. And again, I didn't want to reserve my judgment and theories onto this, because there are people that love Scream 3, made a lot of money to keep going.
Yeah, but, I dig it. It was fun. It was very.
Some people really like it. Some people really like it. Some people really don't like it. One of those people is me. And so that was supposed to be your end. That was supposed to be the end, right? Again, Dewey, Gail, Sidney survive.
And here's something else. Who else was in that? Dr. McDreamy or whatever the fuck.
Patrick Dempsey. Patrick Dempsey. Yeah.
So he survives, right? They never do anything with him. Right?
They do, and it's under the cover. But I'll tell you, Scream 3 might have been the last Jedi of Scream. Yeah, you're right. That might be a good comparison. Actually, no. We talked about this. Scream 5 is, and I'll tell you why. But we'll go on to Scream. I'll talk about Patrick Dempsey, but we'll go on to Scream 4, right? We're going to Scream 4 years later. It takes place in Woodsboro. In my opinion, Scream 4 should have been Scream 3.
Buddy, are we going an hour? Are we going an hour and doing a 2-parter here, or what's going on?
What time is it?
7:47.
Oh, we're good.
Okay.
I'll rush through them. Scream 4. Should have been Scream 3. It's not horrible. It's not great. It's good.
Did the original writer time out? Did the original writer write 4, 5, and soon to be 6? They didn't write.
No, the original writer wrote 1, 2, 4, and that's pretty much it. But he did supervise 5. He was producer. He was producer of 5 and gave him his blessing, which is a problem. But anyways, Scream 4 is probably the attempt to make up what they might have messed up in 3. And Wes Craven comes back to do this. I think it turns out to be Wes Craven's final directed film before his passing, his unfortunate passing.
So Wes Craven didn't direct 3.
He did. He directed 3, but 4 was his last. He directed 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Got it. But Kevin Williamson didn't write 3.
He didn't write 3, no. He didn't write 3. And 4, Scream 4 might have been the beginning of Weinstein's fall. I don't know. I don't think that's true, but somehow Wes Williamson comes back to 4. And it's interesting what happens is what they're trying to do is they're kind of trying to pass this torch, is this idea of passing the torch. And we're in a time now where there are movies that come back that are focused on carrying the franchise by passing a torch. And so Sidney Prescott comes back.
I want to direct Scream 9. Alex.
God forbid we get that far.
So
I'm just thinking about the nightmares of that possibly happening. Anyways, so where am I at? Scream 4 is really about Sydney's family, and in particular her niece, right? Her mother's daughter.
Is that
not her mother's sister's daughter? Sorry, so her aunt's daughter. Her cousin.
Is that the one that starts off with the montage of like,
dude? Yeah. So people love that, and I don't get that at all.
They get killed, and then that was a movie, and then they get killed, and that was a movie, and then finally it's real.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying actually.
It was gimmicky. It was,
And so we pick up where Dewey and Gail have been married, and they live in Woodsboro, and Dewey's sheriff of Woodsboro, of course, and then Sydney's coming back to town to promote her book with her book manager. And a series of kills happens with her cousin and her friends. One of these friends turns out to be Hayden Panettiere, hot off the success of Heroes, and is the Randy replacement. So they have made Randy into a blonde white female who is hot and people were going to pay attention to anyways. And then you have these two characters who are very similar. You have Rory Culkin, and you have this other guy, Charlie something. Anyways, I don't think his name. Oh, Ernie Knudsen. Ernie Knudsen is his name, something like that. And they're two buddies.
The one guy that wears the thing, and then his friend.
Exactly. Yeah, but they're again two characters who are very similar. So somebody here is not who they say they are right off the bat. Save the cheerleader, save the world. Nice callback. I like that. And so, long story short, we go through this whole thing again, where history kind of repeats itself with her cousin. She becomes the new Sydney, and this cousin has a Billy Loomis and has has all these characters in placement of this idea. But the twist is that the killer is actually her cousin. The cousin is the killer, and that's the twist. And it's kind of smart.
Right, it's family again, jealousy. Wants to get the attention, jealous.
Yeah. They're playing off the idea that people these days, it's all about the fame. It doesn't matter how you get the fame. And so she wants to be Sidney Prescott, but she doesn't want to be the victim like Sidney Prescott. So she's going to set up everything to make it look like she's the victim so that she could get the Sidney Prescott attention. But the plans get thwarted, and she, dies. Her partner is the Culkin brother, of course. You bring a Culkin in, he's got to be a killer. It looks like a fucking killer. That's a Culkin. I believe that's the Culkin from Home Alone. I don't know if that's Kieran. No, that's not. That's not Kieran.
No,
you know that Home Alone had two Culkins. The kid that wets the bed with the glasses, that's Culkin. What's his fucking name, guys? Come on, help me out.
Well, Macaulay Culkin.
There's Macaulay Culkin, but who's the bedwetter amongst the family?
I guess Kieran, because his brother's Kieran.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's Kieran Culkin, but Rory is the killer of Scream 4.
Right. Is that his character name, Rory?
Yeah, that's another Culkin.
Okay.
And so, still, Better than Scream 3, in my opinion. One of the cooler lines from Scream 4 is Anthony Anderson's "Fuck Bruce Willis" line. I love that line. I
love Anthony Anderson.
Fucking funny.
He's awesome.
By the way, something to point out that nobody ever talks about is that Jenny McCarthy and Anthony Anderson are the only two actors to appear both in Scary Movie and Scream sequels.
Oh, wow.
So Jenny McCarthy is the opening sequence with, I think, Carmen Electra when they're parodying The Ring.
I've never seen it, so
yeah, Scary Movie 3 has the opening of Jenny McCarthy, and Anthony Anderson is in there as well, but they're both in Scream sequels.
Alex, you've never watched Scream?
He's seen Scream. Come on.
This makes me want to. Oh, maybe he's just saying this makes him want to watch it. Like he wants to put it on right now.
Oh, watch it right now. Yeah. And so
I tell you, I did dig the whole the whole electric.
Oh, Clear?
Yeah, Clear. Oh, rewatch. Yeah, rewatch. Yeah, that was kind of cool.
But we'll fast forward through that because that's pretty much what it is. It's kind of a set aside story that her cousin wanted to live her life and couldn't do it. Yeah, and became a killer from that. Which, by the way, we are now up to 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 killers that Sidney Prescott comes across and is still sane. Still fucking sane. All right? Here's where the disbelief starts coming in. If it didn't come in by part 2, it's coming in by the end of fucking part 4. Listen, if I run into 7 fucking people who have decided to kill my family and friends because my mother fucked some random number of people, like, I would go fucking insane. I would go fucking insane. I wouldn't want to be friends with anybody. I wouldn't want to trust anybody. Nothing, right?
Sure.
So Scream 5 happens.
Yeah.
Scream 5 happens maybe 10 years so down. So Scream 4 is 2011. Scream 5 is this year, right? Scream 5. She's cool as a cucumber. Yeah, she's cool as a cucumber. Yeah, right. It's fucking.
So now 5.
She's not even cool as a cucumber. She's fucking Linda Hamilton from Terminator 2. Like, Linda Hamilton from Terminator 2 is cool as a cucumber, not insane, very, very capable of protecting her own son and protecting the world. Like, come on, dude. Like, so we come to Scream 5, which is called Scream, which is selfishly called Scream.
Now, this is not written by Kevin Williamson.
No, it's not written by Kevin Williamson, and it's not directed by. It's the first one not directed by Wes Craven.
Directed by Wes Craven.
It's directed by a team of guys who did the movie Ready or Not.
Whole new playing field.
Scream 5 is the Last Jedi of the Scream series, and I pointed this out to you. It is because look at Dewey and look at Luke Skywalker. So we're introduced in Last Jedi to Luke Skywalker, who's been, maybe 20-something years down the road. He is a failed teacher. He is ashamed of himself. He has basically started Kylo Ren, and he's hiding, right? This isn't fucking Luke Skywalker. This is not fucking Luke Skywalker at all. Like, that's not Luke Skywalker. Not only that, but the Kylo Ren in particular is his nephew. So, like, this doesn't make any sense, all right? So we come to Scream. It's been years later. Dewey is not only divorced from Gail Weathers, but he was the one who initiated the divorce. Why? Because she was successful and wanted to go to New York. That doesn't make fucking sense. How long has he been chasing it? Like, there's no way he would divorce Gail Weathers because she became successful. No fucking way.
He'd take his ass to New York.
Not only that, but he becomes the Clint Eastwood or the old school cowboy. Like, I drink by myself and I hide in a fucking in a minivan or whatever, a fucking trailer. Like that's not Dewey. That's not my Dewey, anyways. But like, we're introduced to Dewey, and the way we're introduced to Dewey, we know this is his movie. We know this is it. We know from the second we're introduced to David Arquette in this movie, who plays Dewey better in this than he's ever played Dewey, because we know it's going to be his last ride. And that's what Scream essentially is. It's Dewey's last ride. And so at this point, the Scream movies are only as good as the killers, and the killers are only as good as their motives. If the motives suck, if the killers suck, the whole movie sucks. So we're introduced to Scream 5. It's been 10 years later, and we're like, okay, so there's a reason why we're coming back to Woodsboro. There's a reason why we're doing this without Wes Craven. There's a reason why Sidney Prescott would come out into the open, back to Woodsboro. There's a reason that Gail Wood, there's a reason why all these people are together, right? It's got to be a good fucking reason. It's got to be a connection. It's got to be something. Nope. It's not. It's fucking stupid. Like, it's fucking stupid. When they reveal the people, their fucking motives are fucking lazy, dumb. They're revealed, they're explained sloppily. They're revealed dumb. Like, it doesn't make sense. The characters have no connection other than the fact that they want to be a part of this history. So they want to kill Dewey, which, again, Dewey has the death equivalent of Randy. It's that sad. It's that sad of a death. Nope. But it's that fucking sad. Like, Dewey's death is that fucking sad. And it brings everybody back, assumingly. By the way, to go back to what you were saying, you know, we're introduced to Sidney Prescott. When we're introduced to her, she's jogging with a stroller. So we know that she's got kids. We know she has kids. When she answers the phone and she's talking to Dewey, they have small talk. And he says, "How's things with Mark?" And she says, "I think I'll keep him around." That's Mark Kincaid, Patrick Dempsey she's referring to.
Oh,
so they get married and they have kids. So he exists in the world.
Sure.
But
they just didn't give him a paycheck. Yeah. Okay. I didn't care for 5 primarily, and I don't disagree with anything you've said, really. But my biggest thing was, you see it in the directing. Like, the way they tried to, there's one scene, I might have been talking to you while I was actually even watching it, and the way they're trying to build the suspense, and they do it, like, rather than letting the suspense build, they try to do it with, like, music, and they're, like, playing music real loud. They don't do it. They don't do it. It doesn't really build suspense. It's more annoying.
You can tell they have a love for the series, but they don't have the patience that it requires. For the execution of this series. It's very hard to do. And Kevin Williamson can do it without Wes Craven. I don't know that Wes Craven can do it without Kevin Williamson. Nobody can do it with either of them. Either or. But another thing that's interesting to note is that Jack Quaid from The Boys is one of the 2 killers. Spoiler alert. Is one of the 2 killers. Jack Quaid is the son of Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan. So it's kind of funny in part 1.
Right, that's right.
It's funny in part 1 when they talk about, well, if Scream gets made into a movie eventually called Stab, who's going to play Sidney Prescott? And Dewey says, "I could see you as a young Meg Ryan myself." Well, Meg Ryan's son is the killer of Scream 5. And that's kind of funny to me. Anyways, these connections are really funny. These connections are really funny to me. Another connection that I find funny is that one of the other killer, which is, her name escapes me, but she's super hot. The character.
I don't know who she is, but
she's super cute. She gets lit on fire, right?
Yeah. What else has she done?
She did Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where she gets lit on fire by Leonardo DiCaprio. She gets lit on fire as one of the Manson killers at the end there. So twice in a row in a movie, she's been lit on fire, which is awesome to me. That's super funny. And so, yeah, we end the movie with, well, guess what, guys? You just wasted your fucking time because there's no real reason why we need to be here. There's no real reason why we need to continue on with this. There's no reason why we needed to bring everybody back and kill them off. There's no real reason other than the fact that we want to continue this franchise and make money without Wes Craven. And so here we are now at the end of Scream 5, which made a lot of money, and we call it Scream 5, but it's still Scream. And we're approaching Scream 6.
And they joke on that too. That's another thing. Like, isn't that the movie where they joke on that? Where they joke on, like, oh, why didn't you just call it Scream 6? Why didn't you they're trying to make a point that I don't think they're making well enough, which is that
they're
trying to do that meta thing.
They're not acknowledging it as a sequel, which let's face it. If there are characters from the originals in this movie that acknowledge what happened to them in the past, that's a sequel. No matter what they want to call it.
What are they calling it now? A requel? It's not a
prequel. Yeah, it's not even a reboot. It's a requel. It's like, dude, come on. You don't make up fucking words.
A reboot sequel. It is a sequel, but it's also a reboot.
It's not a reboot, though. A reboot is like...
it's not a reboot, it's a requel. Because it is a sequel, because like you said, it does have the original people, but then you're setting this whole new young blood where like everybody's related to the first people, but they're all new people. And so
Alex is asking which movie made the most. Surprisingly, I think it's 3. I think 3 made the most money.
We got Wally Fresh in the house. What's up, my
Wally
brother?
Fresh.
Soon to be a series. Oh, there was a series. There was
that's a whole different. I can't. That's a whole different thing. Like, and that's cool for them. That's cool. They should have just stuck with the series because continuing with the movies is they're going to lose their reasons why we keep coming back to this. But here's the information that I know about Part 6. Right. So Part 6 is the first movie out of the series to not feature Neve Campbell. Neve Campbell is not in Part 6. She had some kind of contract dispute, didn't want to be a part of it. Understandably and respectfully so.
Like, this sucks. 5 sucks.
Yeah, well, I mean, but it does star Courtney Cox is returning.
Well.
Yeah, well, yeah, but also that almost guarantees for 100% of a fact that she is not going to make it out alive.
Right.
This is a swan song, right? Here's some interesting things about Part 6. It takes place in New York. That's interesting because of the Jason sequel, Jason Takes Manhattan. Yeah, it takes place in New York where Gale Weathers lives. So the kids, the 4 survivors of the last Scream movie, right? The new blood or whatever. Which, by the way, one of these kids is the daughter of Billy Loomis, and that is horrible. That's a horrible idea. Because introducing that idea, she sees visions of Billy Loomis. Now, what kind of horror movie are we making here? Are we making a horror movie where people can see fucking ghosts? Because it doesn't make sense that a girl who's never known her father to be able to see visions of her father the moment that he died and be able to hear him the exact way he sounded. Like, it doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. But regardless, here we are.
Well,
what is there, footage of him?
No, it could just be his spirit. That could, okay, so here's what that leads to. That that lends to his spirit, because his actual spirit possessing her. I mean, this is a movie, fantasy.
I think, so she comes to grips with the fact that she's making him up.
Okay.
But she comes to grips with it. Maybe that's not the case. Maybe they're going to correct us later, but...
And maybe they're going to make her the killer in the next movie.
Maybe. I think that's what they're trying to... I think that's the idea they're trying to introduce.
But you're right. You're right. The only way to... Now, wouldn't it be possible that she had seen video footage of him from...
Yeah, but from what?
From his notoriety. From when he... When he was...
But he would have been dead by then. Yeah, they wouldn't have had that. And we're talking mid-90s in a small town.
Right.
Like,
so the only thing that leads to is that it's actual his spirit, his spirit possessing. So
that's neither here nor there. Let's continue on with where we're going with Part 6. So these 4 kids that survived Part 5, 2 of them being...
Jason Takes Manhattan number 6?
I don't know. That's a good question. If anybody knows, they let me know if it's 6 or 7. I might have 6, 7, or 8.
I gave up on Friday the 13th.
I think that's the angle they're going for here. So we got these 4 kids who survived the last one, which 2 of the 4 kids happen to be Randy's nephews and nieces.
Right.
Like, again, here's the Randy connection. Continuing on.
And then fucking Billy.
The two sisters.
Yeah. Billy's relatives. Like the daughter... Yeah,
the daughter and her stepsister.
Are they half sisters? Are they then like half?
Yeah, yeah. And so they go to New York to go to college. So if this last Scream is a mirror imitation of Scream 1, then the new Scream is an imitation of Scream 2, and that's what they're doing. They're recreating. Yeah, they're recreating the whole series from scratch. But here we got these 4. We got Courtney Cox. The most interesting aspect of all, Hayden Panettiere returns as Kirby. Kirby is back in Part 6. Because we didn't see her. We didn't see her die in part 4. And we didn't see her die. Not only did we not see her die in part 4, but Wes Craven has gone on to acknowledge that he loves the character of Kirby so much that he specifically didn't show her dying. Do you know what I mean?
That's I'm cool to see her back.
It's actually kind of cool. It's actually kind of cool. It's actually kind of interesting that they're doing that. It's probably the first time that we've stepped away from a character and come back to one. So we don't know why she's there. We don't know how she's there, but she's there. We have an assortment of new characters. We also have, if I'm saying his name right, is it Dylan McDermott? Is it Dylan?
Yeah, Dylan McDermott. Is it Dylan McDermott? It's Dylan McDermott.
Yeah, the best friend from My Best Friend's Wedding is in this movie. And he plays a retired cop who is interested in the killings because his daughter died in a previous installment. Now, there's only one character from the Scream series that came from New York, and that was Sidney Prescott's book publicist from part 4. She came from New York and she died in Woodsboro. So I think that's her father.
That'll add up.
Yeah, and so those are the players that we have right now.
Would McGlock? Okay, hold on. Would McGlock catch Ghostface? No, McGlock could probably wind up having drinks with him and not realize.
Oh yeah, no, for sure McGlock's got to go. Ghostface wouldn't make it past the first scene. If they called McGlock, not even the cops, if they called McGlock straight up in the opening sequence, he'd probably be at the house already. Like that's the power of McGlock. Like that's. Oh, you think so?
See, I take that the other way.
He's got sure, but in the end, it's all about the end result, and he's bloodthirsty anyways. He's gonna shoot somebody. He's gonna shoot the killer because it's the right thing to do.
Scream 6 set in New York City should be awesome. Hope there's a cool sequence of Ghostface on the subway late at night with lights flickering.
I do know there is a subway sequence. There is a chase sequence on the subway, and I do know that it takes place in Halloween, which is interesting to note. That's what I know about Scream 6. That's all that they've released about Scream 6 so far. I also heard that Stab does not take a place so much in this movie. So it's probably the first Scream that not really acknowledged a Stab movie.
All right.
And so that's where we are. That's where we are with the fucking Great Scream saga.
Beauty, man.
Yeah, I think bad or good, like Scream is like pizza. Like it's good no matter what. Like even bad pizza is good. Scream's like sex. Like what's bad sex? Come on, like you know what I mean? Like if you're having sex, it's good sex. If you're watching Scream, it's good Scream. Like Star Wars is even like if you're gonna say, hey, you know, you can watch no Star Wars for the rest of your life, or all the Star Wars, so you just have to have one bad one. All right, I'll take the fucking bad one. I'll take Last Jedi, sure, if I can get all of them. Like I'll take a bad Star Wars instead of no Star Wars. But I'll take a bad Scream. I'll take a bad Scream and dissect the fuck out of it, you know, over something like masterpiece like Scream 2. Or the original. And the original is classic. That's the thing about the original. The original is classic. You can't even compare the classic to the sequels. Like, how do you disagree about what?
Alex disagrees. What do you disagree with, Alex? Oh, and Will, I didn't think Halloween Ends was that bad. I saw it last night. Yeah, didn't think it was that bad. Last Jedi. Wally, Turner's. Are you laughing on Last Jedi? There's actually Turner. There's a whole analogy between how Scream 5 and The Last Jedi. Dude, I'll send you the link actually when we get off this, or I'll send it to you right now.
Yeah, there's a whole like connection between.
Will send me a link to a YouTube video that breaks down like the 25 reasons why
they're connected. Why one wouldn't exist without the other. Less Star Wars movies. I see what you're saying. But yeah, there we are in the Scream universe. My favorite franchise. And in all actuality, I'm only a fan of 2 of them. Out of the 5 that exist, I'm only a big fan of 2 of them. But I'm such a big fan of those 2 that it carries the weight of the rest of them. So there's my opinion and my analogy on the series. There's a lot of things I'm missing, but that's pretty much the main aspect of my take on the Scream series. Wizzo?
Well, and like I said, you could go
I can go on. Yeah, I can go on and on. I can get into the very specifics of it, but all in all, and I'm sure when the new Scream comes out, we'll be talking about it again. And the next month, we're going to be talking about things like in 2 weeks, I'm going to have a show about my experience with special advanced screenings and how much fun I've had with them, the movies I've seen, and how you find those tickets and what happens at these and the purpose of them. But yeah, we need Amy's opinion. Amy does have opinions. I'm not going to speak for her, but she's very opinionated about something.
With Amy next Monday too, because she has a bunch of stuff going. Turner, I sent you the link just now. Halloween Ends. Turner, I liked it. I liked it. Will hated it.
I didn't. I'm not going to get into it, but I didn't. People hate it right now. I don't hate it like they do, but I had a whole stance on Halloween in the first place. So like that's a whole different thing. But yeah, guys, we got
Alex says talk about Filmbuff. This is
Filmbuff. Well, next week,
this is Filmbuff Live. That's what this is. This is another element of Filmbuff. This is
next week is Halloween, guys. A week from today is Halloween, so we are going to take a week off. We are not going to compete with the Halloween holiday, not yet. We're not strong enough. Next year, maybe. Who knows? I don't know.
Who wants to compete with Halloween?
Spend time with your family and friends on Halloween, and we will see you the next Monday when we talk about special event screenings. And coming up in late November, I vow to do a show on Willow, one of my favorite movies of all time, to prepare for the new show coming out.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I get to talk about two of my favorite fucking movies in a month, and I'm really excited about that, guys. If you have any ideas as to what you want to talk about, if you want to be a guest on the show, please message me. I want to thank Wizzo very much for being a part of this, and we send our love to Amy and hope she's okay. She shall be on the next show for sure. And thank you very much, guys. Hope to hear from you. Wizzo, any words?
Much love. Yeah, we're good. We're much love. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, man.
All right.
Always a pleasure, brother. I love you, man.
Love you too, man. Take it easy, guys. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween, my brother.